Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we'll be getting to the JRC here in a moment, but first the disclaimers, and let me put the silencer on so you're not hearing my history hit do one of its documentaries here. Hold on a second. There we go. Alright folks, if you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, pertinent links are going to be right there in the description box. In particular, please take note of the massive archive, the Autistic Hoya's massive archive in regards to pretty much all things Judge Rotenberg Educational Center. We also have a link in there to the article written by Neuroclastic, the one where they surveyed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center's so-called behavior modification program. Now, the JRC actually did threaten Neuroclastic with a defamation lawsuit if they didn't remove it from their website. Neuroclastic refused, folks. Please read the article and share it. We also have linked in there Neuroclastic's GoFundMe in case JRC ever does see through with their threat, because unlike them, we do not have access to unlimited streams of money. Trigger warnings. When we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips or surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please utilize the headphones. Also, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We do use profanity and speak on dark subjects. If your child's 16 and younger and they are watching this, parental supervision is very much advised. Alright, to comment 7. And as usual, the very headlines that they use are always misleading. Allow me to state the obvious. Which party is relying on that ESD device? I ask this because it's sure as hell not going to be the poor individual that you force it on. You see, if they actually relied on the device, they would have put the device on themselves and had their own remote controller to it. Obviously, none of these things are happening. So, a disabled person is having something forced upon them. They're not relying on it. The people who force them on these devices rely on it. The parents that sign away consent to force these human shock collars onto their kids rely on it. Because they live in this world that as long as we get what we want out of you, we don't care what you have to suffer or go through or deal with later on in your life as long as we get what we want. Which, to be quite frank, although the JRC is by far the most notorious example of this, this is something that is deeply embedded throughout the entirety of the medical model. And we have discussed it on this channel before. That we are, us neurodivergent folks in particular, within a medical model that essentially prioritizes everybody else around us in regards to a treatment program for us, as opposed to what we would like to do. Now, there has been some changes, especially within the last 20 to 15 years, such as the rise of the person-centered planning model, person-centered therapy, and all of that's been slowly coming out. And let's just call it the new school, because as more and more people graduate and come into this field and get a good understanding, it is slowly becoming more and more popular over time. But the main thing that holds sway as of right now in regards to treatment is to force neurotypical behaviors onto us to accommodate everybody else. Our wants, desires, needs, dreams don't get really any consideration whatsoever. But anyways, let's go again. We're going to break this one in half too. Under the APA, when an agency reverses a prior policy that has engendered serious reliance interests, the law requires that these interests be taken into account. FCC versus Fox television stations, and that the agency make an effort to accommodate them. Department of Homeland Security. Alright, I'm going to say it, JRC, what the fuck are you even talking about? What does this have to do with, you know, the price of beans?
This is incredible because since it was finished so quickly before his death, that means that he would have actually...
Reverses a prior policy. Which policy are you talking about here? Until now, there has been no policy in regards to the GED device when we're talking FDA. Prior to 2014, when the panel first formed and they put forth the proposed rule, prior to all of that, there was no federal policy whatsoever in regards to the GED device. Ergo, which policy are we talking about here that's supposed to be taken into account? There wasn't any. Are you all high like 24/7? And not just that, but why are we throwing in lawsuits in regards to this that have absolutely nothing to do with the subject at hand? Like, what are we talking about here? By what? Alright, we were going to bust it in half, but apparently we're going to have to read the whole paragraph to see if at some point the JRC gets to the point and we can make this paragraph make some form of coherent sense. Alright. Moreover, when either the new policy rests upon factual findings that contradict those which underlay its prior policy, or when its policy has engendered serious reliance interests, the agency must provide a more detailed justification than what would suffice for a new policy created on a blank slate. JRC, what else do you want us to provide? Let's go through the list, shall we? We have provided court transcripts, not only for the Andre McCollum's incident, but also for the 2006 incident that got you deep shit with the New York State Department of Education. The transcripts of what got you when you were the Behavioral Research Institute banned from the state of California. The transcripts that got you thrown out of Rhode Island. We have ER documentation from your students in regards to the very obvious injuries they received while being forced to wear your device, accompanied with actual ER photographs taken of said injuries, as well as the testimonies of the very ER doctors that actually put together that original ER documentation to speak to what they saw when they were treating said students. We have the behavioral contracts of individuals who were brave enough to waive their own HIPAA rights so that we could actually see all the things that the JRC has stated are shockable offenses, such as standing up for longer than 3 seconds without verbal permission. You see, if that's a shockable offense, JRC, that is not a last resort. Okay? It puts the lie to what you try to hammer down our throats. Okay? So we have those. We have the video surveillance videos of the Andre McCollum's incident, of the 2006 incident where you shot 2 residences, pulled them out of their beds in the middle of the night due to a prank call from 2 students who had been supposedly successfully faded off the device and shot them both 71 times each. Perhaps it's the documentation from the New York State Department of Education group that I've always called when I have had to do similar non-announced visits as when things go wrong. Where not only was it brought up in regards to the device, the inappropriate use of the device, the multiple lies that you try to put in front of everyone in regards to your use of the device, but also brought up the fire hazards, the food hazards, the uncleanliness of certain areas, your absolute lack of care in regards to when you do allow these kids to eat, if it's something that has been properly treated so they don't get sick. What else do you need? As I always ask, Jimmy Hoffa delivered in an oil drum, maybe with a big red bow around the barrel? Want me to find you the last unicorn? Maybe you would like me to bring a raptor back to life and, bring it to your door. Let's see here. What else is it that you need? Because this is the clearest case of massive wrongdoing and abuse that I have ever seen in my existence. This is literally a situation where the receipts have receipts. Okay? Now, let's talk about factual findings. All those things I just talked about are factual findings. Those are cold, hard facts. Cold, hard evidence. And more than enough proof in regards to what you all really get up to behind closed doors. It really doesn't get more conclusive, open and shut case than this case, but apparently here we are, for reasons that continue to elude me. So I guess my question would become, what factual findings do you think contradict the very, very solid evidence? Literally over 4 decades of evidence that we can have right in front of us with a simple click of a mouse. What do you have that contradicts this?
starting with a remarkable.
And no, I'm not talking about your absolutely horrific excuse for a clinical study. We've gone over that until I'm like blue in the face. We're not doing that again. What concrete facts can you bring forward that can, in any way, shape, or form, contradict all of that evidence? What evidence can you produce, put in front of my eyeballs here, that's going to contradict what I have seen with the same eyeballs in the video of what you did to Andre McCollins in 2002? Because to date, I have seen nothing. And I've been following this case since 2008. 2008, and you have yet to produce any so-called factual findings whatsoever in any way that contradicts all of that evidence at any point in time at all. What you have done is try to get us to accept multiple decade-old clinical studies conducted on individuals back in the time before the GED even existed. Not to mention, something that old, what those determinations are, is not going to hold weight with the things that we know now, because science doesn't hold still. It evolves. The more we know, the more things change and evolve and get better. Now, I know this is a difficult thing for you folks at the JRC to wrap your heads around, considering you're still using the exact same defenses that you were using in literally 1976. But please, just, follow me here on this. You have provided no evidence. Absolutely nothing at all that contradicts all of the evidence. Okay? I'm just going to give you all the visual. We've all been on Autistic Hoya's massive archive before, but just to provide and give those who are new to this just how big this archive is, how much evidence we have.
You decapitate someone after death. What is it kind of showing?
Disrespect, really, and otherness, and it is
okay.
Something you would do with it.
We're just going to do a real brief scroll.
For this individual, what you can see is this enormous...
Look at all this. The blog, stories from survivors, U.S. state government agencies, U.S. federal government agencies, U.S. court cases, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Torture, the independent and non-for-profit governmental organizational reports and letters, videos, other resources. This is a brief background. These are all the updates. Oh, but wait, there's more. She's done multiple interviews, by the way, Jennifer Masumba. This is her video transcript, her interviews with CBS, her talking to Vox Populi, the JRC Survivor Speaks Out series. Within that, you will also find her behavioral sheet, her behavioral contract, at what they considered shockable offenses. We've got other accounts from survivors, the 2012 civil trial coverage, all about what happened to Andre McCollins,
false.
You see all this? Massachusetts Attorney General, Massachusetts Department of Developmental Services, Massachusetts Department of Education, Massachusetts Disabled Persons Protection Commission. Look at all of it. All of it.
But it could also be that your community was threatened by business from the on, right?
Adapt, Alliance.
Which makes sense within an able context.
You see all this?
It means that the middle ages is often associated with horror by people now. Even its often buildings have become a trope almost synonymous.
You see, JRC, that's
Sometimes when we think
all that we have that we've been working from. The evidence has evidence. The receipts have receipts. Professionals, ER doctors, photographs, video surveillance footage. And UCAP brought forward absolutely, positively, nothing that contradicts any of that evidence. Nothing. So again, what are you even talking about? And on that note, folks, we're going to close it out for this particular video. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, if you could, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and please don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time, and as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea absolutely do hope you have a good one. I'll see you all again here in a few minutes. Bye, everyone.